This week, a comparison of this year's Supergirl movie to the comic source material, Tom King and Bilquis Evely's Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. Why did this movie get made? How do we feel about the original comic? Is this movie a good adaptation of it? Did the story changes for the film hurt or help it? Did the movie live up to the comic's lovely art? Emmet joins me to discuss. First, I want to thank our patrons for supporting the Deconstructing Comics family of podcasts. You can pitch in by pledging at least $2 a month at patreon.com/deconcomics. Or you can help us for free by reviewing the show on Apple Podcasts or wherever podcast reviews can be posted. This is Tim.
This is Emmet.
And this is Deconstructing Comics. Welcome to Deconstructing Comics. This is Tim in Tokyo with Emmet in Country Victoria, Australia. Greetings.
Hello. I, for a period of, let's say, 24 hours, was in Sydney, Australia, New South Wales, and I experienced pleasant temperatures, warmth, nice. The sun shone, and I felt it upon my face. I had to put sun cream on. And then I returned to my frigid little hovel. I have the radiator on beside me at full blast. The cats are bothering me while I'm trying to prevent them from knocking the microphone so you can hear me. It is cold.
Well, how would Sydney be that warm? And it's like the equivalent of the end of January in the Northern Hemisphere.
It's further north, so it's not as cold.
It is. Okay.
It's also winter there, but it's not as inclement as where I live.
Okay. All right. So some weeks ago, I saw the movie Supergirl. I went into the movie completely unaware that it was based on a particular comic story. And that fact was kind of surprising to me since I've been watching all the MCU movies, and in those they just kind of take elements from comic stories, put them in a blender, and make their own story. And I mean, obviously, this movie is not completely the same as the comic, Woman of Tomorrow. But the other thing was, what I was expecting was a movie similar to last year's Superman, which this one is not. It's somewhat darker. I mean, there are kind of fun parts to it, but with all the murder and the sex trafficking and everything, it wasn't something like, oh, wow, what a fun ride. I didn't feel that way about this movie. And it wasn't really what I wanted, what I ended up getting. I'm not sure why James Gunn was all up for doing this particular comic story.
Okay, right. Well, there's some background on that. I mean, I think if we're going to look at why this movie got made, one of the factors is that this is a very popular Supergirl comic book by Tom King and Bilquis, who gets name checked in the film.
He gets a planet named after
her. Gets a planet. Yeah,
Bilquis Evely. Yeah, the planet Bilquis in the part of the movie that's nothing like the comic.
Indeed. But Anna Noguera, and apologies if I'm not pronouncing that name correctly, apparently wrote a treatment for the screenplay, and everyone was very excited to make it. And why that's significant is because Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, is pretty much the only Supergirl storyline that people talk about. And it also, for James Gunn's purposes, not only does it broaden his depiction of Superman somewhat. He didn't direct this, obviously. Greg Gillespie directed it. But it also allows you to have a sort of backdoor into the DC universe. What I mean by that is the universe. Actual concepts. There's also really interesting cosmic characters and concepts in DC Comics.
Hmm.
So because Supergirl in this storyline goes into space and she visits multiple planets,
Hmm.
that's one thing the two products have in common.
Hmm.
Um, uh, there is a sense that, well, we're going to be able to use this as a vehicle to broaden the world a bit beyond the last 20 years or so of DC movies, which have stayed pretty tightly around Gotham Metropolis, Gotham Metropolis, Gotham Metropolis. Oh, here's ancient Greece. We're back to Gotham and Metropolis. You know, you have a broader canvas,
Yeah.
so you can understand the thinking,
Uh-huh.
and you can understand why something like this maybe got put together.
Sure. Okay. Makes sense. Yeah, somebody was saying that kind of the only stories that Supergirl is known for in the comics are this and dying in Crisis of Infinite Earths.
I believe that was my little bit of
Maybe that
banter.
was you, yeah.
Yes, and it is something I've taken myself the task with. I've gone and said, all right, well, what else featuring Supergirl is out there that I should be reading? You know,
Hmm.
so I've actually started reading Sophie Campbell's Supergirl book. Sophie Campbell did a Gem. Remember Gem? Truly Outrageous Gem.
Oh,
Um,
from the toy line.
yeah. And the cartoon, I watched that when I was a kid. I So Gem was a comic book that I unironically loved. Like I was like,
Okay.
this is incredible. Like there's a use of color, and it was really amazing. I really loved the art, and I thought it was just a really impressive comic. I knew Sophie Campbell from Wet Moon. I remember that was something that people I knew were really into.
Hmm.
So I was aware of her work, and then when I saw she was doing the Supergirl book, I said, okay, I'll try that because I liked Gem, and Wet Moon was good. And this Supergirl comic book is like, all right, we're taking the approach of everything that's ever happened to Supergirl did happen, and we're going to tell this story about her going back to her hometown, her adopted hometown where she was raised. We're going to treat this like a 1950s. Here's some random stuff. Every week, every issue, there's a new incident. Her cast of characters and friends keep growing, but it's sort of low stakes, wacky hijinks. Supergirl, Kara, and Kandor intersecting with the DC world, DC Earth, and then we also get to meet like the Lana Luthor character from who was very popular in the Supergirl television. There's aspects of the Supergirl
Hmm.
television show
Hmm.
bleeding into as well. So Campbell's taking this approach of everything under the sun gets included here, including mentions of Woman of Tomorrow,
Okay.
which I think we're more or less treating as an Elseworlds,
Hmm.
or as a sort of self-contained, separate story. Campbell makes references to it. There's like flashbacks to it. There's things that creep up, but then there's also things that are referencing random comics from the 90s, 80s, 50s. Like it's really interesting. And it's fun. It's a fun book. So I just felt I wanted to come to you in this conversation with that offhand remark I made to you about the only other time we remember Supergirl is when she died. And I was like, well, okay, this book by Sophie Campbell is out right now. It's good. Check it out.
Okay. So, finding out that there was a comic that the movie was based on, I was interested in reading the comic. And of course, the only way I'm going to get around to doing that is to make a podcast about it. So, yeah, it's hard for me to get a comic read if I'm not doing it for a podcast. So we're doing a podcast here. So I read the comic, then I watched the movie again. And so we scheduled this recording for today, July 31st, because Apple was putting it up for rent on July 28th. And so I could watch the rental version, but then I saw that they wanted $19.99 to rent it rather than $4 as usual. Meanwhile, yesterday was the last day that it was in my local theater, where I have a loyalty program where I can get in for the equivalent of like $6. So I'm enough of a skinflint that I would walk all the way to the theater to save $14. So I saw it in the theater again. Screw you, Apple.
Nice. Well done. I will say I did watch it at home. I went to see it at the cinema as well with your other co-host Kumar, but I watched it with my partner last night here at home, and it actually does play better on the big screen. I did find that this, whatever criticisms people have had against this movie, and I'm sure we'll get into a lot of them. The moments of music and the sort of choreography that of the action scenes work better on a bigger screen. At home, the movie does feel smaller.
Sure.
So that is something to also reflect on. Whereas I actually felt that James Gunn's Superman worked equally well. Like, I thought it was very heartfelt and that carried through. And so I thought that was an interesting contrast. Yeah.
Okay. So now this comic was written by Tom King, and I know you have complained about some of his work in the past. So how do you feel about this one in comparison to other Tom King books?
It was frustrating for me because I did an episode with the just mentioned Kumar on the Mr. Miracle book that Tom King did a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
It was one of my early episodes for you, I think. And at the time, I was sort of inspired to jump onto this podcast and start ranting because I'd seen some headline about how Tom King has reinvented superhero comics or something to that effect. And I remember just being so angry because I was like, this is just refried Alan Moore again. There's your one per episode. This is not actually... And also I felt the depiction of mental illness, suicidal ideation within the work of Jack Kirby, where he does talk about those things, but he talks about them as metaphor in a very rich way that is still engaging and entertaining. Not, I, the author, am now going to lecture you, the reader, about suicide. I remember being very annoyed by it, just thinking it was very pat. When the comic book came out, One More Tomorrow, people reached out to me to say, "Oh, are you reading it?" And I was like, "No, it's a Tom King book. I'm not going to read it." Because I feel like, well, I've read enough of his stuff. He's not for me. I think I've established that fact for myself. It's like, I'm not going to watch Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon movies. I'm done. I've done my time. I've watched enough. I've established how I feel about this person. But when we went to see the movie Supergirl, and clearly it owes so much to this comic book, certainly wouldn't exist without it. I felt, okay, well, I guess I do need to read this. And again, what annoyed me so much. And people talk about this comic book and the adaptation of it for this film as if this great sin has happened, as if this work of genius has been reduced into this mediocre film. I'm not going to dispute that. I don't think it's a great adaptation. I will say that in adapting the book, what the film does is, here are the stakes. Here's how we're going to conclude the stakes. Stakes concluded. Right? In the comic book, here's the stake. Crypto gets shot with a poisoned arrow. Near the end of the book, turns out that never really mattered. That wasn't really an issue.
That Supergirl was lying about it, that he was actually fine and they didn't need the antidote.
Now, that's a very, as a criticism, if I'm going to mention that first thing, someone clever in the audience is going to say, but Emmet, you poor deluded fool. Don't you realize this is a book about ambiguity and unreliable narrators, and everyone's presenting a version of reality that is false? And who can you trust to be telling this story, seeing that there's all these overlaying stories happening at the same time? Oh, you poor deluded fool. And I'm going, I get that. it didn't work because the author announced to us that's what's happening to the point where the overwritten narration is so clearly um, like it's so cobbled together and unwieldy and unnatural. Your perception is, oh, this is badly written to call attention to the fact that it's badly written. It's not representing factual statements.
Hmm.
And then I think at one point Ruthie actually does make a comment to the fact of, oh, I really overwrote that, or I can't
Right.
believe
Yeah.
I ever spoke like that.
In the comic, it's Ruthie's book. She's
Yeah,
writing about this experience where that's not a factor in the movie.
it's not a factor at all because in the movie, the events that are the events that are happening. In the comic book, the events that we're being presented with and the events as described by the narration, separate. They pull
Hmm.
apart.
Well, certainly at the ending, did you notice that happening other places? Maybe I missed that.
I felt as if the way it was written was overloading the reader to the point where the art was being drowned out. And I thought that
Hmm.
was a deliberate effect.
Well,
That's a sort of,
it's pretty wordy. It's like
yes,
an '80s comic. There's a lot of words.
yes. Yes, and I've noticed some more recent authors are also doing this more in comics as well, where you have like huge tracts of dialogue that
Hmm.
obscure a splash page, and it's meant to be expressive, but I find it just crowding out the art.
Hmm.
And the other criticism people made about this adaptation was, oh my God, the amazing Bilquis art, and now we've got this muddy looking film. I think that's fair. It's an incredible looking comic book. Like the
Yes.
illustration is beautiful. Like it's
Hmm.
beautiful. I hate the story. And I hate the sort of clever, oh, let's have an issue all about genocide where we are left with the fact that when a genocide occurs, people just move on. Am I being clever about this? And it's like, no, that's the most obvious thing to draw from this. There's nothing insightful here. It's
Well,
just
I did feel like
sitting in front of me.
some of the issues there's kind of hardly any there. There, it's just like, oh, that's it. What happened in this issue? Not very much.
It's meant to make you reflect. It's meant to make you
Hmm.
think about the story that's been told to you and the story that's been told to the people in the story. Like
Hmm.
Supergirl and Ruthie, they're being lied to, or the facts of their situation are being obfuscated, and they in turn are lying to us. So that's the sort of roundabout cleverness of the comic book,
Hmm.
and I'm grateful that the film and that the screenplay just cut through all of that.
Hmm.
Um, did I need Lobo in here? No.
They must have been introducing him for future use, I suppose. I mean, he
Yeah,
was kind of like fun in a Deadpool kind of way, but yeah, he didn't really need to be there.
no, and Jason Momoa needs to be stopped. I do love him, but like I just watched his Amazon Prime movie, The Wrecking Crew, and it's like, okay, you're just going to do the same thing now, every time. You're just doing the same thing, the same character. So yeah, there needs to be something done about that man. But I think it's an interesting use of Lobo insofar as we're going to be talking about space, cosmic adventures. We need to get Lobo in the mix. I
Hmm.
can understand the reasoning,
Hmm.
as you just said, but I just feel as if in this particular story, if we're not going to be talking about the ambiguity of storytelling, which now we're talking about the film, if we're not going to be talking about that, we're instead talking about the moral weight of revenge
Hmm.
and trauma and trauma. So that's my nod to Jamie Lee Curtis. If we're going to be dealing with that, particularly when it comes to women, and again, you mentioned the sex trafficking that happens in this movie. Um, what is the point of introducing Lobo? Because Lobo sort of is there to sort of give the sort of approving nod to, yeah, kill those passages, like his whole that's his moral stance.
Hmm.
Like he's happy to see these sex traffickers get killed,
Hmm.
but what does that add to the metaphor of or the sort of allegorical reading of women undergoing all of this hardship and suffering and the threat of sexual violence and the threat of violence? Um, why is Lobo in the mix? That's
Hmm.
where I kind of was looking at it going, what are you trying to say here?
Hmm.
Um, it feels like he was sort of airdropped in. Is
Hmm.
there somebody else you could have introduced to maybe give
Hmm.
this a little more flow? Um, but yeah, no, I did that is, and that is something that's not to the same degree, at least in the comic book.
Well, yeah, in the comic, there is a mention of this biological impossibility that the brigands are an all male race and somehow they have to impregnate another race in order to survive. But yeah, then the movie. So the first two issues of the comic are pretty much the same as what's in the movie. There are differences, but they're on that bus with the creature cantina type uh, folks on it. But then in the comic, they encounter some kind of a space dragon,
Hmm.
which I don't know. It's kind of a nothing burger, I thought. But in the movie, we get these pirates,
Yes.
and actually, the pirate scene I thought was kind of fun. I kind of liked
The
that.
fight scene is very fun.
Uh
Yeah,
huh.
it's a very clever, glitchy fight scene.
Yeah,
It's an
with
interesting
with
touch.
the teleporting and stuff. Yeah, so that was good. And then when Supergirl has tied up the pirates and they tell her about the brigands and they've got these women for the purpose of reproducing, whether they want to or not. And then the whole middle third of the movie is focused on that and completely different from the genocide that's going on in the comic book in the middle third.
Yeah, and the other aspect to the comic book that's not included in the movie is that Krem doesn't start the comic as a brigand.
Right.
Krem
Hmm.
starts the comic as an operative, and Ruthie's family isn't wiped out. It's her father
Just
is
her
killed
father. Yeah.
over a sort of a cultural difference, a political
Well,
difference.
and I thought, how much more on the nose can you be about 2020's America? They get in a fight over
Yeah.
politics.
Which again, we later learned didn't really matter. Like it didn't
Hmm.
really, it meant nothing. It was
Uh-huh.
a sort of, it was all about, there was no way he could have escaped that encounter with his life
Hmm.
because it was all about just enforcing that oppression. That's the point of
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
death.
Hmm.
But Krem then is an opportunist and he becomes a member of this group. And then when he is pursued by Supergirl, his weapon of choice is magic
Yeah, the
because
Mordru
Kryptonians,
globe that
yeah,
transfers her to the planet with the green sun.
it's because Kryptonians, Superman famously has no resistance against magic. That's how you take him out. But then it simply becomes this Deus Ex thing that Supergirl can't defend herself against. So then she has to work out how to get around that. And that then brings us to Comet. And that whole, again, that's a storyline from early Supergirl comics. It was great to see that in
Hmm.
here.
Hmm.
It's a nice
Okay.
inclusion, but it's generated by the use of magic. Magic is creating the need for these issues to cover that. What's the story about? What's happening?
Hmm.
We've sort of we're it was lovely to see Comet. I did feel the padding, the
Hmm.
padding, and
Hmm.
the sort of misunderstanding of what deconstruction is. The film doesn't have any of that in it.
Yeah, the
It's
comet, the horse, is not there at all.
not there at all. It's get to this planet, find out where the brigands are, get to that planet. Oh no, it's a trap. Fight scene. Save the brides.
Hmm.
Um, decide whether or not to murder Krem. Save Crypto. Krypto needs to be saved. That is still a goal at the end of the movie.
Right. Yeah. It's he's legitimately in danger because he gets hit by Krem's arrow with some kind of poison on it that will kill the dog in exactly 72 hours. So you can set your watch by it, which Supergirl does. But yeah, I mean, I was feeling like as I was writing down kind of differences between the book and the movie, I was noticing a lot of times I felt like, I'm sure this is the case, the movie changes were more spectacular. I mean, the murder of her father in the comic is just like sword, whoosh, done. Where in the movie, there's the brother gets killed and then the father blows up the brigand's ship. We have to have some explosions, and then everybody else the parents get killed and the place is on fire, and so it's much more cinematic than what's in the comic. And it's the same way with other changes. So there seemed to be a lot of thinking like, this comic scene is not going to work in the movie. It needs to be bigger. It needs to be simpler or whatever. So I'm sure that was the thinking.
I think it is I'd be interested in studying the screenplay insofar as, is this a how to write a screenplay 101 in practice? And how to adapt another medium to cinema in practice, because you're right, it goes big on those moments that we recognize that have been retained, but also it drops a lot of the sort of ambiguity we've also been highlighting, because I think you can do that in film. You can, like, people have mentioned True Grit as a point of reference. A young girl finds an older gentleman or an older warrior, let's say, to get revenge. Like, that's a similar structure. I would also look at something like Atonement, which was based on a novel, but the Atonement film, where it's like, who's telling the truth to us? Whose version of what happened is real? You can do that in film. It's a different kind of film than what this is. So all that's jumped. And instead we're going, okay, we're doing meat and potatoes plot. How does Supergirl get to this planet? How does she, she agrees to put a bag over her head so that she'll go board the vessel. And you go, oh, I don't think Supergirl would ever do that. While she's sitting on the vessel with the bag over her head, she's using her activity. She's fine.
Yeah, she's X-ray
actually
vision.
in control of the situation.
Yeah.
So it actually is a storytelling solution that's kind of smart, but initially, as you're watching the movie, you feel, what's happening? No. And then the scene plays out and you go, oh, okay, she thought about this. She's, she knows what she's doing. But so there's moments like that where I kind of feel perhaps people watching the film who've read the comic book, and I don't think there are that many people within that set, but they were certainly very loud. Because not a lot of people want to see this movie, famously. They will be frustrated because they're seeing a loss of complexity. And going back to my thoughts on Tom King, I don't think it's complexity. I think it's complication. And this movie, whether you don't like it or you thought it was okay, I thought it was okay, it certainly simplifies a lot of the story. I think we can all gather around the fire, sing Kumbaya, and agree on that point. The movie simplifies the comic book considerably.
Yes, for sure. Oh, by the way, you mentioned your discussion of Tom King's Mr. Miracle. Would you believe that was 9 years ago?
I'm old.
The September 7th, 2017 episode.
I have so much more gray in my beard.
Coming up, why add sex trafficking to the film? Supergirl's trauma, more on the comic's unreliable narration, only good things to say about the book's art and coloring, and more. It's 1989, the sun is glaring, and our protagonist wanders home after being badly beaten. In this state of injury and confusion, he pulps pages of poetry and comics in his sink to create a mask hiding his bruised face. and then, upon leaving his home, finds a $100 note. This could help someone, anyone. Emmet has released his latest comic called The Shadow of the Night. He says, "It's my tribute to Sydney, where I first landed in Australia. It describes my culture shock at an English-speaking and English-defined culture on the other side of the world." Find out more at www.dearnight.com.au.
Who's Who, the definitive podcast of the DC Universe.
Spanning from the first issue of Who's Who in 1985 all the way through the loose leaf edition.
Including all the updates, the spin-offs, custom Who's Who pages for forgotten characters, and tons of in-depth character spotlights.
Entries span from the golden age of DC
and into the extreme 1990s.
Covering characters such as Superman by Kurt Swan and John Byrne.
The Justice League by Kevin Maguire.
Batman by Dick Giordano.
The New Titans by Tom Grummett.
Wonder Woman by George Perez.
The Legion of Superheroes by Keith Giffen.
The Flash by Carmine Infantino.
Lobo by Simon Bisley.
The All-Star Squadron by Jerry Ordway.
Firestorm by Al Milgrom.
Aquaman by Chuck Patton.
So many entries talking about Ian Karkull.
The Forever People again, and again, and again.
And hundreds of other characters found in Who's Who, the definitive podcast of the DC Universe.
Available wherever you find podcasts and at fireandwaterpodcast.com.
Nuclear Man, Batman, Hawkman, 2D Man, and Hour Man. Who are all these people, man? They're all part of the DC Who's Who.
Support the Deconstructing Comics family of podcasts on our Patreon. On the latest Bat Bits, Paul and I talk about the movie Blank Man, a Damon Wayans movie from 1994. The movie heavily references Batman 66, but does it take the right tone? Last month, we discussed an early draft of the Ring of Wax Riddler arc of Batman 66. More script discussions are on the way, plus a look at the Fiberglass Freaks Batman Museum and more. Join us for these and all past Bat Bits episodes by joining our Patreon for at least $2 a month. At $4 a month, you also get our monthly show Silver Age Batman, where we're looking at many of the wacky Batman stories from the 50s. In this month's episode, coming August 22nd, Kumar and I discuss the double crimes of Two-Face from Detective Comics 187. Also, at the $4 level, you can still access our past series that covered the first 50 issues of Amazing Spider-Man and more. Follow our Patreon for free and get access to the first 2 episodes of both Bat Bits and Silver Age Batman. Check it out at patreon.com/deconcomics. And thanks for your support. After I saw the movie the first time, I listened to at least 2 podcast reviews, and one of them was the Superhero Ethics podcast that you introduced me to a while back. And I definitely had to agree with them that the quote-unquote brides in the movie, the sex-trafficked women, have no agency, and we never really meet any of them. None of them are really characters. They're just kind of this plot point. So it would have been nice to get to know. I mean, the movie would have gotten more complicated then, I suppose. But yeah, I don't know. I wasn't sure why they felt they needed to go that direction with it.
And unfortunately, it invited a lot of people who are very smart people, to say, well, this is just a rip-off of Mad Max Fury Road. And it doesn't help that they refer to them as brides. Admittedly,
I haven't seen Fury Road, but that's the same.
It's a plot point. It's a plot element in that movie where the principal characters are brides trying to escape from this evil dictator. So you have a similar plot, but the characters were themselves the victimized women.
Okay.
Whereas, as you point out, in this movie, we don't really get to meet. We briefly meet Sarna.
Yeah.
Before she exits the movie quite abruptly.
Yeah.
And then we also see a woman with a giant Gatling gun type weapon giving a nod of approval to Supergirl. that's about it.
Yeah.
That's who we get to meet.
Yeah, there's some agency there, but no lines.
No lines of dialogue. No. And, I saw this with my partner, as I mentioned, and she was saying, why is it that whenever we have these stories about women, it has to be about sexual suffering, sexual abuse, surviving, all of this? Like, why is that the emphasis in these stories from a women's point of view?
Well, I mean, for me, it felt, as soon as I got to that part of the movie, watching it the first time, it was like, this feels really kind of ripped from the headlines. So like this is the fashionable crime to include in this movie rather than genocide. I was waiting for them to have somebody show up named Effrey Jebstein or something to drive the point home. It's like, do we need
Tim,
the news to intrude in this movie?
Look, you say that, and we're not going to get into it now, Tim. I think we can put it to one side, but let's draw a bracket around it and say Superman did deal with genocide, and everyone was very normal about that. So let's not get down that rabbit hole. But
That's
yes,
true.
again,
They already dealt with that in the other movie.
Yeah. And it didn't go down with a certain group, and let's put it to one side. But yes, there is a concern here with if you're telling these stories and you're going to try and give some, tactile element to it, make it feel real to the audience. Maybe don't do it in such a way that it feels derivative or that it feels too on the nose. Like, have something new to say about that. I actually thought the material about Supergirl's survival and the fact that she's been carrying the deaths of her family and her people all this time, and she's trying to forget that, I thought that was very moving. And I thought that was an interesting element retained from the comic book. And that sequence played well for me. I need the Ruthie constantly giving her crap for being drunk? No. I have seen people say that this movie's anti-alcohol. I don't think it is.
No, I don't think so either. It's just, I think the drinking is explained when we understand the trauma that she's been through. Yeah. That's why she's boozing it up like she is at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, and she's being forced into this situation where it's like, hey, why don't you just sort of get over all of that and become normal and enjoy life in Metropolis? And she's meanwhile going, I cannot stand it here. And I hear everything and it's too much and I'm overwhelmed. So she's literally drowning herself in booze to try and not have to think about all that stuff. It makes sense.
Now, this might be a minor point, but I was noticing in the comic, so Ruthie, both in her voiceover, her book, and in the dialogue, is talking in this really fancy English, and really proper English. And then in the last 2 or 3 issues, she starts using ain't and double negatives. And is that another kind of unreliable narrator bit that she's doesn't talk as properly as she was trying to make us think?
Yeah, I think that's meant to be a sort of hint. Again, that this is we're seeing a depiction of this person, because then later on we meet the older Ruthie, who seems like a very different person. So there's this sort of suggestion that a lot of this is invented for the benefit of, say, a barbarian who'd maybe want revenge for the death of someone. Can we spoil the comic book? Can we talk about the ending of the comic book? It's been out for a couple of years.
Well, I mean, I don't see why not. I mean, I don't think anybody who's going to listen to this hasn't read the comic.
I mean, and potentially you haven't watched the film, which also has a similar ending. So I guess spoilers, people who haven't read the comic book or watched the film, I don't know why you're listening to us talk about it, but that's fine. We're giving you fair warning. in the comic, Krem's death at the hands of Ruthie years and the years in the future, where of course she's been living with this sort of I'm going to kill the bastard when I see him again. That's almost the version of her that Supergirl in the movie is so deathly afraid of. It's like she's saying, you will wear this your entire life. Don't do this. Like, you will carry this on you. You need to walk away. And then she stabs him. Which I liked.
So the endings are different, and I didn't really like either one of them. In the comic, apparently, I mean, unreliable narrator, I guess, but apparently Krem goes away to prison for like centuries and comes back, and he's really, sorry now, and he's completely reformed, and he wants forgiveness and everything. And, well, I guess in the book, Ruthie writes that Supergirl killed him, but actually Ruthie killed him. And so I was like, well, but he's reformed and he's sorry, and now you're going to kill him? In the movie, Supergirl talks Ruthie out of killing him, and then, Supergirl kills him himself. And as a hero, I didn't really like that approach either, as the hero turning around and killing somebody who's just lying helpless on the ground.
There is a school of thought out there, because, again, ambiguity, but there's a school of thought out there that Krem isn't killed in the comic book. Krem is beaten with a stick by an old woman, and then he's sort of rolling around on the ground there at the end of the comic book.
Well, we only see it in silhouette, which is just like the murder at the beginning of the comic series.
Oh, that's a good counterpoint. I like that.
It's in silhouette.
No, Daddy ran away.
So, I guess we can't really be sure that he's killed here. It's just that, she hits him on the head with a stick, and apparently some blood comes out. But, is he dead?
He's an old man who's just been smacked repeatedly in the head, and he's left there on the ground. He's probably dead, because maybe it's a slow, he's bleeding out. But he's not coming back from that in a good condition, if he's going to come back at all.
No.
So I don't really pay a lot of attention to that kind of theory crafting around this comic book, because ultimately I was presented with a version of events. Then it turns out there are two separate versions of events. Okay, fine. Oh, there's a third version of events. I'll get lost.
I did want to talk a little more about the art, because, as you said, it is really nice. I have zero complaints about the art.
Yeah.
And what I was noticing is how both Ruthie and Supergirl look like they were drawn in 1938. And indeed, I watched a YouTube video about Bilquis Evely and the colorist Mateus Lopes, who after working together for a year, they became a couple. They both live in Brazil. But Evely has said in interviews that she prefers classic artists like Alex Raymond, and also Mobius, and even Van Gogh.
You can absolutely see Mobius in here, and you can also see things like Blueberry and stuff. Mobius is all over this joint.
And Lopez's colors, they talked about that in the video, how the color theory of it, and I'm gonna have to link to that video. But different. And Mulele talked about this a long time ago when I was taking his comics class, but having kind of a base color for a scene and a couple other colors that go well with that color. And then you go to a different scene and it's a completely different color scheme. The whole thing is really beautiful. But it does look kind of like it was drawn in 1938, which is not a bad thing at all. Also, Ruthie's hat looks kind of of that era.
Yeah, it does. It has a sort of it has the suggestion of the techno priests in Enkal and all the stuff that Mobius did with Jodorowsky. So I can see that as well. The other one I was struggling to remember was Corto Maltese. The comic book Corto Maltese. That's also maybe a point of reference potentially. Hugo Pratt. That again, that sort of fine line drawing, beautiful detail, beautiful faces, very detailed backgrounds and locations and environment. And particularly when we get to the planet with the green sun, I mean, all of that is gorgeous. And I think in the collection they have the green sun on the cover, so there's that sort of suggestion of this element coming through. It's such a beautiful visual. I really like that. I thought the film didn't live up to that color quality and the density of the image. It's not there. But then there were little nods. I thought, like, when they're on the bombed out, when they're on planet Bilquis, appropriately enough, and there's a bit when Supergirl flies with Ruthie and she sort of flies in camera lengthwise with her hand out like so, and there's this sort of almost like she's flying through trash. It reminded me of the Helen Slater Supergirl, and I did wonder, because there was all those cheap sets in that film. I did wonder, was that a deliberate nod to the sort of lack of ambition of the Supergirl with Helen Slater?
Wouldn't surprise me. They're always putting like Easter eggs like that in these movies.
I kind of want to go back and watch that one again, because like when I was a kid, I didn't know that was Peter Cook. Now I need to see it again, because now I really like Peter Cook.
I think the only other thing I wanted to mention, so in terms of astronomy, in the comic, the planet, what's the planet called? Barrington. And that's straight from the comic. It's Barrington in the comic too. So in the comic, Barrington has a green sun. In the movie, it has both a green sun and a red sun, which rise.
Yellow sun.
Yellow. Okay, I don't have the sun thing straight quite yet, I guess. Okay, yellow sun. Right. But they're not in the sky at the same time. And I'm not sure how that's possible. I mean, in Star Wars, Tatooine had two suns, but they were like a binary star, and you could see them both in the sky at the same time. But I don't know how a planet revolves around two different suns that rise at different. I think the planet then goes into the sun in that case.
Yeah, let's not let's not fuss too much on that one. But
well,
it's not going to make a lot of sense.
I'm sure it was just for the convenience of, okay, now the yellow sun's rising and now she's got all her powers back.
Now the story can happen.
Yes,
yeah, exactly. But thank you for bringing that up, though, because in the comic book, the whole point of that horrible sojourn on the green planet is so we can have that joke at the end about, Superman was a pussy because he basically didn't take as much suffering as Supergirl did.
Yeah, he was rescued after 45 minutes and she had to wait it out till the sun went down.
Like, again, it's such it's interesting because the comic doesn't go into women suffering as much as the film does. But there's also this idea that women's tolerance for pain is higher than a man's tolerance for pain. So is Tom King having some fun with that sequence. And I just thought that was a cheap joke. Because again, it's a man sort of going, she can take it. And it's like, mate, maybe don't. But also it's cheap in its delivery, and it kind of sums up how I feel about him in general as a writer. Is going, okay, you had what you think is a funny idea, and now we have to sit through this, because there was something quite powerful about her surviving all that time on that planet under the green sun. Like it's a very you feel how arduous it is. You feel how much she's suffering. And in the film, again, they go with that because it is a powerful sequence. And she's sort of now facing her death, basically facing the death that she thought she had abandoned her father to. Now she's going to get killed by green Kryptonian radiation anyway. So there is you can see in the screenplay, A to B, A to B, A to B, that you can see that they've worked that out. And but it's sort of, as you say, how does that work in terms of, is the planet revolving between two neighboring stars that are close enough to shine on the planet at the same time in opposite sides? Is that is the planet a super planet? Is it so large that it actually is bordering into the is it balanced between these two suns? I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, it's just we need to get an astronomer on the show. I don't think it's possible, but
it's like when, I mean, we've mentioned him twice already this episode, but it's like when Kumar was talking about how much he didn't like Saga. And it's because he read the first page of Saga, and then he was like, well, that doesn't make sense in terms of physics.
Just poisons the book for him from the first page.
There's this description of like the planets and the planet's gravity, and he's going, well, that doesn't make sense. Saga, which is like reformulated from 16-year-old Brian K. Vaughan's like teenage comic books. And he's like, well, no, that doesn't work.
Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow is published by DC. The Supergirl movie is now for rent on Apple, Amazon Prime, or Fandango in the US. Follow us on Blue Sky at Decon Comics. Join our Facebook group or listen to our audio-only videos on YouTube. They're all linked from deconstructingcomics.com, as is our voicemail. You can communicate with us via social media or drop us a line at mail@deconstructingcomics.com. And again, what would really be appreciated is some reviews. I took another look at Apple, and there are some other reviews there that were somehow hidden from me when I looked before. But still, nobody has reviewed us in 4 years, and it'd be great to get some current reviews up. Have you enjoyed the interviews and reviews we've been dishing up this summer? Let potential listeners know. Tell them why they should listen to Deconstructing Comics. Are you making a comic? Send it to us and we'll do a Critiquing Comics episode about it. Our theme is by J.B. Anderton. The music backing the promotion of our Patreon is Change by Jazar. Consider the Incredible Hulk. He's often referred to as the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde of the Marvel Universe. But is he really Jekyll and Hyde on a deep level? My brother Paul has been studying the early Hulk comics, looking at the various framings that were tried soon after the character's debut. Does Banner turn into Hulk when the sun goes down? Can he become Hulk whenever he wants? Does Rick Jones have hypnotic control over the Hulk? These were all tried in the wacky 6-issue run of Hulk's book in 1962 and 63 before it was canceled. Paul will be here next week to talk about his observations of the early Hulk. Till then, this is Tim, and thanks for listening to Deconstructing Comics.